I'm excited to be here, and just like Jonathan said and Matt mentioned, like, you're here. Like, unless your parents are picking you up early, you're here till we're done. So you might as well open up and take part, have a good time. So I just ask you to enter into this day, because all you have to do is just be here. That's all you've got to do. So use this day, it's beautiful outside, and just have a good time, have fun. Everyone that's here on the staff, doing worship, up here speaking, we're excited to be here, and I want to be here with you guys. So just actually ask you guys to just give whatever you have. I'm extremely tired. My coffee's over there, way too far away. And some of y'all are probably up real late gaming or something, but we just ask you to enter in. Sing, don't sing, whatever, but just be here, be present, because all we have to do is be here today. And I'm really excited coming up this weekend, because I know last month y'all had Chris Frank come, and he spoke about Jesus and how much Jesus loved us, came and lived, died, rose for us, and he wants to be an intimate relationship with us, And so I was wondering, like, okay, well, why do we start with Jesus, and now this month we're talking about God? Why don't we start that way? But I like that y'all started that way, because we could just start somewhere comfortable and somewhere where we know on common ground. Like, oh yeah, Jesus. I grew up Catholic, like coming to church, and we hear about Jesus all the time, and his miracles, and his kooky apostles always putting their feet in their mouth. But what we're gonna do today is kind of step back and broaden the scope and just say, okay, cool. Jesus, good guy, some awesome teachings. He's got some miracles behind him on his resume. But is he really God? Is he really who he said he was? And if he was, or if he wasn't, what does that mean? Is there really a God? And it's a valid question, because we've been asking that question for, since the beginning of humanity. Is there someone that put this world into play, that started time going? Who was it? What is it? Is there somebody? And it's an important question, because what if? What if Jesus wasn't who he said he was? What if there is no God? What if is the question. Because if we ask that question, what if there is no God, then we are wasting our time today, and let's go play some Ultimate Frisbee outside, because I would love to do that. There would be no church, there would be no Mass, there would be no Eucharist, no saints. We wouldn't have a choice between heaven or hell. You wouldn't have to come here every Sunday to worship, because there wouldn't be anybody to worship. Mother Teresa would be just some crazy lady to like to hang out with dying people. I mean, she'd be off her rocker. But we know as Christians that there is a God. How do we know that? Well, a lot of times we just say, well, it's because we're Christian. I grew up, my parents taught me that, and my priest taught me that, I went to Mass. Kind of comes with the territory. But just being Christian doesn't mean that you have the answer, and that just because you're Christian doesn't mean that there is a God. But Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI said this: being Christian is not the result of an ethical choice or a lofty idea, some philosophical idea. Being Christian is the encounter with an event, a person, which gives life a new horizon and a decisive direction. Being Christian means we've had an encounter, or hopefully you will have an encounter. The world had an encounter with Jesus, with God come down on earth. That's how we know. If you ask secular society, okay, what was the climax of human existence? Normally you're going to hear, well, the Enlightenment, the sciences and all that. So we're excelling in our knowledge, math, science, all these things. That's when the climax was. When we got smarter, we started putting away all these religious ideas and just started talking about science and reason and intellect, which is good. But if you ask us Christians who know, believe, and love the God that created this world, when the climax was, it was when a little baby was born behind enemy lines, in a cave, in a food trough, with animals all around, and then grew into a 30-something-year-old man, gathered 12 apostles with himself, lived on this earth, died and rose for us, And he did rise. But that power, the people that were in power at that time tried to say it was a hoax, that they faked it. His apostles went and stole the body. But you can't argue against 500 people saying, I saw him after he died. 500 plus people saying, I saw him, I had an encounter. He spoke with me, he came and fed me fish after fishing. I was with him after his death. We know the truth, we know he rose. And so, that's what we're going to talk about today. Because Jesus is the Son of God, the God-man. And with Jesus, there are three choices we have with him. He can be only three things. He's either a lunatic, just crazy out of his mind. He's a liar, which means he's a bad person. Or he is who he said he was, our Lord and Savior. God incarnated in the flesh, came to live, die, and rise for us. There's no other founder of any religion that made that claim. Muhammad, to his infinite credit, never said, I am God. He said, no, I found a way. I'm a prophet, I'm a messenger, I found a way. Buddha never said, I am God. He said, no, I found this way of living, come follow me. Moses never said, I am God, I am divine. He said, no, I've received these commandments. I received this way of living. But Jesus, he said, no, I am God, I am the Lord. And that's why I'm here. If he's a lunatic, they should have locked him up in the loony bin. If he's a liar, he's a bad man. But we know he is who he said he was. Our Lord and Savior. And we're going to talk about it today. So I want to pray for you guys. So may Father, Son, Holy Spirit. May Father, thank you for this opportunity to be here today. I'm going to just pray that your Spirit just be here. Come, Holy Spirit. We're all here for different reasons. We've been ecstatic and waiting since last month. Our parents physically kicked us out of the car. Just pray that your Spirit flow through us and open up our hearts and our minds to what you have prepared for us today, whether in these talks, in our time of worship, in our small groups, at lunch. Just pray that you be here with us. We thank you. Amen. So I want to tell you about my wife. So I met her at Family Christian Store in Sugar Land, the one that's in that Target parking lot, Highway 6 and 59. We're both working there. And the main reason that we started talking, just more than like coworkers, because we found out each of us are huge nerds and love Lord of the Rings. That's the sheer reason we started talking. So we started dating, we got married in 2008, and we moved to Colorado in 2011. And what happened sometimes is during breaks, she would usually leave. I'm sorry, wrong story. Back up, 2005. Said my coffee's too far away. 2005, back up, I'm interning, we're dating. And I'm interning and going to school in Austin. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. I'm interning, going to school in Austin. I'm interning in this youth ministry at St. John Newman in Westlake. And we're dating at that time, but she's living back here in Houston. So I'm there a full year. She eventually moves in 2006, but I'm there a full year without her. She's back here in Houston, finishing up school at Houston Baptist University. And so I'm with my teens, and they're getting to know me, and I tell them about my girlfriend, Erica. And I'm telling them, about, how much I love her, and she might be the one, and how awesome she is, and how smart she is, how much cooler she is than I am. But I found out a year later, when she actually moved to Austin and they met her, that they thought I was making her up. Like, how pitiful would I be if I was making up this other person, just so they think I'm cool or something, that I have a girlfriend. But they literally thought for a full year I was making her up. But once she moved down there, or up there, geography is not important. When she moved up there, they got to get to know her. and they fell in love with her. Some of my teens, asked. She became a confirmation sponsor for them. My wife's a convert, but she was able to be a confirmation sponsor. To this day, we're still close with some of those teens. Went to one of their weddings last year. We're going to another wedding next year. Supported them through their joys and struggles, but they got to know her through that encounter of being physically present and realizing Chris is not a loser because he's making up fake people. And our encounter with God, the way we come to know who He is and that He's actually real, is not much different than that, their encounter with my wife. Because when we talk about our faith, when we talk about God, I want you to realize, understand this. A lot of times we think that our faith is complicated. The Mass, I don't know what's going on there, or our prayer, I don't know how to pray. But always remember, God is simple. He's simple. What is prayer? Anybody? Talking to Jesus, conversation. What you were doing in your small groups, that's prayer. A lot of times we think we need to, we can't remake the Mass or all these lofty, nice, fancy terms, but prayer is conversation. And so the way He comes into encounter with us, the way He reveals Himself to us is simple. We have to take a test or come up with any fancy equations. It's simple. But we can't get caught up and we can't think that, well, once I get older, once I study enough, if I become a theologian or something like that, then I'm going to figure it out, and then I'm like, okay, this is God, and this is how He works. Actually, St. Augustine said if that happens, if you ever get to a point where you think you understand who God is and you figured Him out, throw that away. Or if someone tells you that, walk away from that person. Because God is so far above our intellect and our understanding, we're never going to have a firm grasp on Him. Remember Moses. Moses asked, let me see you. I want to see your face. And God said, I can't do that. But I'll let you see the back of me. And what happened? He was physically changed. They say he looked like, what's his name, the vampire, glistening, Edward. His face was changed. His hair was changed. They had to put physically a piece of cloth in front of his face because the people looking at him couldn't stand the glare. He wasn't a vampire. But he was physically changed just by seeing God's back. So we're never going to come to a full 100% understanding of Him, but we can come to know Him. There are two ways we experience this. And what's great is that if you have time to sit down and think about this, you'll come to see how this has happened already in your life. We come to understand Him, and He reveals Himself in two ways. Through the world, through His creation. This world, this school, animals, the environment, all this, the cosmos. And then just through us, through our human intellect, just being human, seeing in our own minds, we're able to think about and see that, well, maybe there is something bigger and greater than all these things that are around me. I want to start with the world. Anybody go camping? Campers? Go on vacation to the beach or the mountains? Any skiers? Snowboarders? Yeah, snowboarders, that's what I do. Think about those times. Think about the most beautiful sunset you've had. Or the mountains you might have seen. Or the people you might have met. The experiences you've had where you just thought, I wish this would never end. I know a lot of times for me, those are on retreats or at camp or something. I wish this would never end. My wedding day, all my best friends, my family members from around the country in one spot. I wish this would never end. This is awesome. Order. The way this world works. We know there's an intelligibility about this world, and the world works in a certain way, in a certain order. And we can't manipulate that. Proteins, fats, carbs, proteins and carbs have 4 calories, fats have 9 calories. But, maybe every now and then we like to say, well, carbs actually have 1 calorie, so I'm going to eat this whole cake, all right? But that's how the world works, the cosmos, the stars, how things work, how things are built, how things are destroyed. I mean, think about how our world came to be. If you look back through how our universe was made, during the gases and things just rumbling together and crashing into each other, if there would have been off a degree hotter or a degree cooler in that process, we would not be here. We would not exist. This world would not have become an inhabitable world if it were a degree hotter or a degree cooler. We would not exist. Think about how our bodies work. You know, anybody, like, I'm sure you have taken biology. Or anybody have like doctors or parents or anything like that. Our bodies are so intricate. These machines that our bodies are work in a certain way, and they're powerful. The things we can do as humans, the way we eat and assimilate things, the way we're able to think and the way we're able to figure things out and come up with these new inventions. You know, I'll talk about later. I mean, like look at everything we've had. We have our advancements. Like I talk with friends of mine. Like, look, my generation was a generation that was like in this weird middle between like the dial phone where you have to like turn the dial and then like cell phones. So we've been on both ends. But all the advances we've made are because of how we've been created and how we are now. The human person, the very fact that we think and wonder, is there a God, is a sign that there's probably something higher and outside of us. Beauty, goodness, our morality. Think of the Ten Commandments that Moses received. Those aren't just things that had to be taught to people. Those are all things that people agree upon. If you talk to atheists, even they'll say, okay, if there is a God, which there's not, if there is one, we should worship him and give our lives to him. If I'm wrong as an atheist, we should worship him. So that covers like the first beginning of the commandments. But then everything else in there, you know, don't kill, don't steal, don't lie. Even the worst terrorists will agree to that. Because if that happens to them, they're going to be angry. Or just think about anybody. We agree on those things because they're natural. They're ingrained in who we are as human beings. How is that? How does that happen? We don't just learn that and then say, oh yeah, we all agree, and everyone that's going to be born and in the next few centuries is going to agree on that. No, we all agree to that. Those are signs that there's something greater. There's something more. There's something outside of ourselves that has put this all into work. And we're able to know that, understand that, and get to know him. If you go to Romans chapter 1, verse 19 and 20, even Scripture tells us about it. For what can be known about God is evident to them, because God made it evident to them. Ever since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes of eternal power and divinity have been able to be understood and perceived in what he has made. You're saying there's no excuse. You look out into the world, the amazing things we have and see and experience. That's him talking to us. That's him saying, check that out. That's a platypus. I made that weird thing. Armadillos, they don't make sense. There's a priest, Father Mike Schmidt, he's like an armadillo. That makes no sense. It's like a fish crawled out of the water. I was like, I'm gonna walk and live in a shell. That's what an armadillo is. It doesn't make sense. But we're able to see there's something greater. There's something more. Well, then if you ask, they don't contain the full truth, and they don't explain. We don't explain. The cosmos doesn't explain where we came from. And none of this explains where we're going, what our purpose is. But knowing that there is a God where we came from, and that there is a God that loves us where we're going, hopefully, in eternity, that's the answer. And I know some of you are thinking, well, I know that sounds good, but I have these friends who are atheists or agnostic, or maybe some of you here are atheists or agnostic. Awesome, I'm glad you're here. And asking, well, until I see scientific proof that there is a God, sorry, I mean, you can't explain it to me. It doesn't make any sense. But there will never be any scientific proof that there is a God, because that's not science's purpose. What does science investigate? That's a real question. What does science look at, investigate, study? Huh? What's that? What's real? Science. Science studies the natural world, where we are, things we can touch, see, smell, hear. You can't experiment on God. You can't boil him down, put him in a beaker, and then do tests to see whether he's real or not. You can't put him on a petri dish and look at him under a microscope. You can't look out your telescope and say, got him, there he is. Oh, he moved again. We gotta refocus. We can't put him on a scale and say, God needs to go on a diet, he's a little obese. We can't study him in the sciences because he's not part of creation. He created this world. He's outside of this world, keeping us in existence. We say everything is grace, everything is gift, because God quite literally keeps everything in existence, keeps everything going. We run into these problems. And sometimes our intellect and our reason isn't enough. Why? Because we're sinful. We're fallen people. Like our atheist and agnostic friends and family, we want to tell God, well, you need to reveal yourself right now in this way, and then I'll believe. We're sinful, we're selfish, we're petty. We get full of ourselves thinking we can just put God in a box and say, okay, you need to pop up right now. But we can't, and he knows that. And that's why he took care of it. He knew we needed a guide. He knew we needed someone, something, some group to point us in the right way, the right direction to him, to the truth. And he put that into motion thanks to his son coming down. And we'll talk about that in our next talk.